White shot? Headshot? All right, 210. Hey guys, this is Natasha with Not Dating 210 Podcast. Thank you to Pod Media for housing and producing, and to Podcast Network for having me on your network. I appreciate it, guys. If you're watching, go listen. If you're listening, go watch. Either way, and I say this every time, because I fucking mean it. You're gonna want to see who I have. One, she's beautiful. Two, she has a lot of insight. I already know. So go ahead and make sure that you watch and listen, do all that, share with your friends. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, my name's Alexis. Originally not from Texas. I'm from the New York, Boston area originally.
Okay.
And been here for about 5 years.
All right.
So,
So we
ever
claim
since
you
COVID.
now.
You claim me now, yeah.
I do. Yeah, you're San Antonian.
Yeah, San
Yeah.
Antonio.
Okay, so we're just gonna go right out the gate.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about how you came out.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, I'm a medium. I came out, so I'll backtrack it to when I was
Yes.
younger. I was raised in a prominently white community, very Catholic, very taboo area where it just wasn't a thing. Did the Ouija board when I was in 8th grade with two of my girlfriends, and the board was moving, and then the comforter lifted up, and I felt it go up my legs, and that comforter went, oh, it went flying. Yeah, and then 2 days later, we had thrown it in the trash, and the trash caught on fire. So, like, after that, I was, like, not, it was just not for me.
Okay.
But what I was really good at was being able to, like, have a sixth sense to feel people. And I was able to download the energetic grid and medical record of the person in front of me, but I didn't know it was called medical mediumship. I just wanted to be a nurse or go into social work. I thought that was like my path of using my strengths to be able to help other people. And so from 19 to 21, I had blocked my intuition, my gifts. And then once I had turned 21, I had met a mentor out in the wild who supported me with trauma training. I went through some pretty intense, like, couple years of my teenage life and into my early adulthood. And she really supported me in navigating. So she was the first medium that I had encountered. And a friend had tried to get me to go to her for about a year and a half, and I was like, no, I'm good. Like, the whole Ouija board thing, I was like, no,
Yeah.
like, I'm okay. Like, I don't need to talk to the other side. Like, I didn't have any loved ones that had passed away, and yeah, I just, like, wasn't interested until my friend was having a baby, and she's like, oh, my girl's gonna be there, and I was like, wonderful. Like, I can't avoid her at this point, right? So I ended up meeting her. She was really great. We hit it off, and she was like, why don't you come see me? And then from there, I was so fascinated how she was able to see blind spots of myself and my soul and my environment without knowing anything about me.
Yeah.
And she supported me in trauma training. So the trauma that I had experienced, I call it trauma training. It might not, like, it wasn't like, I don't know, I call it trauma training, where it's kind of like a therapist, but from, like, a spiritual standpoint of, like, what within my lineage possibly had happened to contribute to this, and then dealing with both of my parents, and what has made them who they are, or just like encounters that I had had with people, not just specifically with my parents, but just being able to understand from a higher standpoint what that looked like in terms of how I can start to heal. And from there, I met another mentor out in the wild of the world, as I like to say. And this mentor really acknowledged who I was. I had picked up that she was very spiritual like myself, and I felt a resonance to her on a spiritual level, as if she could see like I could. I just didn't know seeing was called clairvoyance or mediumship and things like that. And so when I had said to her, "You're just like me," she goes, "Baby, I know." And she pointed out, like, all the things that I had had. Um, and then she was like, why don't you go look it up? And that was when I came to San Antonio for the first time, and I'd met this one mentor. And beautiful woman, like,
Yeah.
really wise, really, really connected to the other side, and like very powerful. And took me under her wing and was able to really support me in learning how to use my abilities, because I was like a lethal weapon. I was like a pistol where I would just openly channel. So imagine like being out in the world, and I'm hearing, seeing, feeling all of these things, and I'm vocalizing, and people are like dodging me like the bullet,
Yeah.
because they didn't want any part of that, especially when it's not agreed upon, or like they're not asking for feedback. And I was just like, imagine hitting target after target. And yeah, it's intense, right?
People aren't ready for that.
They're not ready
Yeah.
for it. Yeah. And so I had to like learn over the years how to control that, how to control my vessel, my abilities, and also like my restraint. So anytime I would see and feel something that would cross me and I would go to see red, I had to walk myself through how to like calm myself down, because people lie in front of me all the time. And so standing for truth and being lied in front of really didn't sit well with me.
Yeah.
And so it would vocalize. So part of my like 6 to 7 year process of day in and day out working with, these mentors and, being tested, whether it was something that they would have like a specific topic or a project with a client and they're like, I want you to look into this, and into things I didn't want to look into, right? Like I was scared to look as a medium in the beginning when I was intentionally being groomed to, I want you to look into this. And so I was guided in how to start to do it.
Okay.
And then the next thing you know, I'm seeing, it was a lot. Like I'm seeing death, I'm seeing, people getting wounded, I'm seeing people doing magic, I'm seeing people doing all these things. And I was like, I'm like a virgin, So imagine like I'm seeing all this stuff and I was like, I want out. Like I don't want to see this. And so that was the beginning. Now there's nothing I haven't seen, from cartel things to, divorces to cheating to medical stuff. I channel hospice patients too. So there's like, I've done one missing persons case, which has been really fulfilling. So it's really rewarding. But you're asking me, tying you back on how did I actually come out of the spiritual closet per se. My business was built through word of mouth about in 2019. And that's when the clients really started to pick up. And so my business was created. And I had one client that I had known for over 10 years who was married to a man who I had also known for 10 years. We were in a very similar community, like a network marketing community, like an MLM. And she had came to me and hired me for consulting because there was another woman in the community who was doing magic on their family to separate the husband and the wife, like very intensely. And so they had all moved to Austin, so like they were all in the mix, and it was really big. And fast forward, so I'm working with her, and the mistress was about to throw something at the family, and they had kids as well. And I don't mess, especially when it comes to kids, because they're so innocent, and this was an adult thing going on where the mistress didn't care. And so she was about to throw something very, very heavy towards the family. And knowing this couple and loving them for a decade, I was more than willing to put myself in a position where, in order to buy us time, I said, I'm more than willing to come out and basically risk my reputation and my image in order to basically block your family. And so I would do that 10 times over because that was the right thing for me to do in order to support. And I had like receipts. I'm a triple Virgo, sun, moon, rising. So the receipts are all there. The details are there. So I didn't know this lady from a hole in the wall, but from a coaching standpoint, I was attacking the illusions and the images that she was putting up about the whole situation and about herself that were not serving, and we're tricking a lot of people. And there was a lot of manipulation. There was a lot of mind control that was going on just to fit an image in order to support her in separating them. And so my job was to break that down and like start breaking it down. Spiritually,
Okay.
yeah. So I had called her forward on Instagram because that's where a lot of people in that community that were in their like circle running with them were being impacted. And so it was important to know what was going on and to be able to share that with people and to buy time in order to soften the blow of what was about to happen to the family. So a lot of people, like we're in the South right now, so when it comes to religion, a lot of people, it's like they'll turn their head against the warfare that actually goes on. And the Bible's very powerful, so I'm not taking away or discounting any of that. There are people that do operate more heavily in the dark. And in the universe in general, there is more dark than there is of light. So like the Bible is of light, but it's knowing that this actually lives out there, not being naive that like it doesn't exist, because it does. And those are the people that can really get themselves in a tough situation, because they're saying it's not out there when really they can be getting
Right.
messed up by
Just
it.
because you turn your eye or your head doesn't mean it's not there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I have
Right.
so many questions.
Yeah,
Okay.
go for it. Go for it.
Okay. Hold on. Okay. So just because I'm sure there's some listeners out there that are probably immediately like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
I don't believe this. It's a lot of woo woo, right?
Yeah.
What do you have to say, or how do you explain it to people that are either non believers or just people that are, have this like negative connotation about
Yeah, in terms of like mediumship or just magic or all of the
it?
above.
Yeah, like the spiritual realm in general. Like so many
Right.
people, kind of like you said, they turn a blind eye. It doesn't
Right.
mean it's not there.
Right.
So how do you explain to people it's not a bad thing? It's not you're not sitting by like a big kettle like doing
No,
like, you know what I mean? Like,
no, it's like not what it is in the movies
right,
at all.
right.
Even though some people do use that,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
different occults do different things. Great question. So I would say in religion, and this is my own standpoint, my own belief, just to kind of put that put that out there for the people. Yeah, a little disclaimer.
Yeah.
But I was no, I wouldn't say a critic, but I was one of those people at one point where I actually love the people that are very skeptic of not just this industry, but like just in general in life, because it means they really care. But the ones that have a listening ear and that are open to even just learning, right? So it doesn't mean you have to practice it, but at least to like be open to know there's different cultures out in the universe and in the world, right? There's different species. And so when it comes to, say, like the religious standpoint, you'll have a priest or a pastor that will stand up in front of a group of people and they're channeling the word of God, right? So certain pastors just really have this really beautiful ability to be able, it's like arts, and you're feeling like you're like really talking to God, right? And they feel called on their mission to like be a pastor and all that, and to really be an open channel. Well, pastors are mediums as well. So when you're channeling the word of God, I'm also channeling God in maybe what you would call a different form, but it's all higher source. And so I would say nowadays, with more people awakening and their consciousness is like they're curious, I've been seeing a lot more pastors online start to like attack the spiritual community when spirituality's been around for like thousands of years.
Yeah.
And, just I think they're instilling a little bit more fear than they are in terms of, yes, this is what's out there, but choose what you want to believe in.
Yeah.
On a side note, from a higher perspective, the people that are like full Catholic or full Christian or full Protestant or full Muslim, you actually, when you choose into a religion or a spirituality, because all of those are contrast of spirituality, if that makes sense. So when you buy into and you're choosing one specific lane for you and you're dedicating your life to higher power, then you are to conform to those rules and regulations, and you're held to those rules and regulations and accountability in the spiritual like laws, because there are spiritual laws of the universe. So kind of dabbling back and forth of like the people that either are doing magic, I call it like arts and crafts, of people who it's not in your family, like it's not like shamans, it'll go from one person to the next, so it's within their lineage. But now more people are so open and vulnerable, and they're being drawn to the mystical world, not knowing why they're being drawn to it, not understanding their own spirit on a soul level, and if they're of a darker spirit, of a lighter spirit, or if they can go in between. Because you'll have a darker entity that is a medium and they're super good, and then you'll have someone on the light side who can be sensitive, and they can be like, they can't be out in large groups of people because they haven't learned how to dance in the dark and come back, which is their shadow. So then you'll have people that have mastered going up and down the ladder. But the the only thing that lacks in a darker spirit is enlightenment and love. That's it. So it's a lot of trauma that comes in, usually in their realm. They'll operate from manipulation and greed, envy, things like that. And they'll try and get what they want. Where if they were to actually surrender and lose control in order to be cracked wide open, then that's even scarier. So in this life, it's like from the time you're born to the time you die, you're mastering the marathon of like, how much growth can I do?
Yeah.
And a big question that does come up is, can anyone just be a medium?
Yeah.
Or can anyone have the ability? Because in the spiritual like community, there's some people that will say, you know, yes, everyone has the ability, and to a degree, right? We have a third dimensional body with a fourth dimensional brain and a fifth dimensional spirit, so we're multidimensional. But what happens is there's a heavy responsibility that comes with being a medium, and you have to have spiritual integrity because you're working with entities or higher powers, and if you're in the physical world have not released lower energies within yourself. So it very well could be integrity. It could be, you know, have I groomed my integrity enough to be able to guide someone in a certain way, or, you know, be able to take responsibility, because there's a listening that you have, and people will come to me to try and have a cop out or to, you know, get out of a lesson that they're so close, right, to mastering.
Yeah.
And what will happen is I can feel the intention of what they're asking and whether they're like right there, and I'll guide them a certain way back into themselves to complete it, because that's karma on my end. If I come and stroke your ego because I'm in my ego, then I'll feel good and you're left in yucky.
Yeah.
But you can't channel and be in your ego at the same time, because
Yeah.
you have to move so much out of the way in order to be an open channel for the message to come through for that person. So
Makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like your was it like your id, your ego, your super ego, right?
Yeah.
Stepping outside of that, and
Yeah.
also operating at a higher vibration, but by letting go of a lot of things.
Yes.
And not, we kind of touched about it before, but
Yeah.
and this is just in general, which is like important to know or good to know, right?
Yeah.
Is like when people are assholes to you, it's typically not because of you.
Right.
Hardly ever, right? Unless
Right.
you're intentionally, you know, doing something to them, but because people
Right.
project and people don't know how to, they're not emotionally mature,
Mm-hmm.
nor are they able to, if they are, to hold a conversation, because that's
Right.
another part of it,
Right.
right? That other tier of, okay, I know how I feel.
Right.
How do I communicate effectively
Right.
about how I feel?
Right.
Um,
Or even right before communicating,
Yeah.
it's how do I transmute and how do I navigate? It's emotional intelligence
Right.
to navigate. Do I even say something? And
Right.
that's communicating too. So
Mhm.
it's like that one step before the blow.
yeah,
because-
processing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's so important. Not enough people process.
Right.
And if they do, yes, processing, it can take time depending on the situation.
Right.
But I've gotten to a point where I'm almost able to process immediately,
Yeah.
because I
Beautiful.
have to,
Yeah.
in order to save myself,
Right.
but also because things don't matter that much.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the things I used to like get really pissed off about or hold on to, like, for what?
Right.
I don't even remember them.
Right.
You know. So now I'm
Right.
like, okay, hold on. This just happened.
Right.
I don't really like this. But hold on. Is it me not liking it, or is it you intentionally trying to hurt me or say something, right? So I have to
Right.
think about that. And I'm like, okay. So then immediately I'm like, hey, like, I don't think that you had any ill intention, but
Right.
that did kind of hurt my feelings. And that's something I'll take on.
Right.
Right. But just letting you know.
Yeah.
Right.
And the key word I'm hearing is awareness as you're
Mhm.
speaking, like
Mhm.
being aware of how you're being
Yeah.
before you're like, as you're processing, right? Because to me, the first thing is like, you have to be aware of who you are
Mm-hmm.
in every single moment to be able to know how to process, or like, okay, let me stop. I'm being this way,
Mhm.
right? Because that's also a choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like actively choosing growth within yourself. And then as
Right.
you're practicing, you're sharpening the tools on your belt to be
Yeah.
able to like serve like a Michelin dinner to
Yes.
someone, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. No, there have been times where I'm like, I'm being so nasty right now. Like, I'm gonna stop. Because like I'm still human. Like
Right,
it doesn't
right.
matter like my education or, you know, the fact that I'm a therapist, right?
Right.
I'm still human. I still have
Right.
my own feelings and emotions and
Right.
life experiences. So sometimes I'm like, I need to stop.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I'm overthinking, I'm over whatever. But anyway,
Right.
okay, so
Yeah.
can you break down for the people there
Hmm.
out there
Yep.
listening, what is the difference between mediums, clairvoyants, empaths?
Oh, I love this question. Yeah. So I talk actually a lot about this and educating people because when I go live on TikTok,
Mhm.
I always ask, like, if anyone has questions, like, put them in the box, right? It's not just like mediumship questions
Mhm.
in terms of asking me for them, but in terms so they can educate themselves.
Yeah.
And so it's actually come up recently of um, questions the other day were like, how can I tell the difference between my highest self and like where I'm currently at, like my ego, right? How do I identify that? Or like my intuition, my highest self versus my intuition.
Mhm.
Or in terms of like mediumship, clairvoyance, I always say that people that say they're intuitive, that's not a gift. It is to be able to sharpen that tool, but between that and like people are like, I'm empathic, like, you know, as if they're like gifted, which
Yeah.
it is a gift to have empathy. It is a gift to be intuitive.
Yeah.
But in terms of it actually being like a clairvoyance, those are actually survival. So
Yeah.
if I was to plop you in the safari and you know you had to fend for yourself, your intuition would be completely heightened because
Of
you don't know
course.
if a lion, a bear, or a tiger is going to come and get you for lunch.
Yeah.
Um, Same with your third eye. Like there's different parts of you that will be activated. Um, but mediumship and psychic mediumship, all the things, there's a consistency to it. So they can hit the nail on the head. They can tap in right there into your situation, into your energy, and to be able to tell you what they see and to navigate you right there. And there's also training that comes with it as well. So you'll find that in some way, shape, or form, either it was passed down through lineage or like within my family, I'm the only one that holds the abilities, and there was mentors that the universe put together to, you know, be able to support me in understanding what this actually is. Because a lot of people are underdeveloped that actually have the gift, and so people will think they're crazy, or they'll, um, you know, they'll end up on like, you know, depression meds or anxiety and things like that because tools are activating. And you'll find a lot more people nowadays since COVID, since being locked down and having to face yourself. There's a lot of things that have come up like domestic and depression, anxiety, because the universe said, sit down, I need you to process, I need you
Yeah.
to transmute. And so depending on who you were processing with, there was different karmas in the house, you know, different timelines were also merging, right? And yeah, and then there was another one of what's the one, and I'm drawing a mind blank, but in terms of dreams.
Like lucid dreaming or um
I know it's at the tip of my tongue, but
um
it's like basically they dream it and then it happens, right?
yeah.
There's a word for it. I'm literally drawing a mind blank to it, but basically what happens with that specifically is there's like psychic downloads that people can get, right? And like psychics in general, the most consistent ones, there's a consistency to it that you'll find. And even tying back to the question from before of like, can anyone become a medium? Can anyone open up? And my personal belief in this life, you work on as much trauma, conditions, and letting go, limiting beliefs and releasing, the more you're going to filter a lot of things out of your body that have been lodged into your physical vessel that has been passed, the impact of trauma that's been passed down through the physical lineage, and then wherever the spirit has come from, right? Because we were talking about earlier about you're a big stand for mental health, things like that. And my personal standpoint from my spiritual guides
Uh-huh.
is that first, in order to be a medium in your physical avatar, in your DNA, you have to have a descent of Hispanic or Latino or Black. So you'll have like Indian people in their heritage, or the Caribbeans, or Mexicans. Like every culture has their own, or even Europeans, it's more Spaniard. Not everyone has it in their DNA, but you have to have one of those two or both in the physical avatar in order to be able to hold space for the spirit. And so depending on where the spirit comes from is going to depend on like if the body is willing or able to expand in this lifetime to support with their abilities, because there are people who have near-death experiences, or they were hooked to a drug or a substance, and then they go into rehab and they're cleansing and they're clearing their spirit and their physical body, and the next thing you know, they have a divine intervention with higher power and God, that then they're like, okay, I will carry forward being basically a disciple of God, is how I like to call it, a spiritual disciple. And so when you're living every day in a practice of higher power and serving, it's like spiritual, like solitude or servitude. And so for them, it's being able to activate other people. But tying back to the physical body with mental health, you'll have people that come from a lower dimension that then, if they're given a body that's able to expand, then they're going to be really good in the dark. But then when you have someone where maybe their spirit comes from a very far place, but their body physically has not, in a DNA aspect, caught up to be able to expand, mental health will start to kick in.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds a little woo-woo, but like the two have to either work in this life to like work together to get to the point where they can be in harmony, or there's going to be an imbalance that will cause someone to be, off balance.
Yeah. I fit two of those. I was like Spanish and like Mexican.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So my mom took me when I was like, I guess like 16. There's like a bunch of bad shit happening to me, and my mom was like, no, we're going.
Yeah.
So this person was like half curandera, half like shaman, and like super, I remember everything about this garage that was, converted.
Yeah.
And sitting there and then having this talk, and they were like, yeah, somebody does not like you, do X, Y, and Z. All right, cool.
Yep.
So my mom went, she comes back out, and I was like, oh, how did it go? Some people talk about their session, some people don't.
Yep.
And my mom randomly was like, they told me to tell you basically not to read cards.
Yeah.
Because you are really powerful, but you don't know it. And so you could easily go into like the dark.
Yeah.
And I was like, what does that, like, what does all of that mean? So I just kind of held on to that.
Right.
Because I know. So I consider myself religious and spiritual.
Yeah.
Right. And that's okay.
Yes.
Like I don't like when people are very close-minded. Like, well, it's one or the other.
Right.
Well, no, I believe in God.
Right.
But I also, believe in the spiritual realm.
Right.
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 So I have my own practices.
Right.
I don't have to force it on
lives
anybody
in
else.
the spiritual realm.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just always something I've kind of like thought about, and we had kind of talked about it. And I have my, I pray, but I go to church, but I also have my crystals, and I have my little I don't want to say the word rituals because it has a negative connotation, but you know what I mean. Like,
routine.
Right.
Yeah.
And so and I know that I manifest.
Yep.
I'm a powerful manifester. I wouldn't say I have any gifts.
Yeah.
And like you said, right, intuitive, like that's just in like your intuition as like your fight or flight, right?
And some people that's like truly activated generation after generation after generation. Yeah. So like in the lineage and the closer you are to the purity of, say, like for yourself, Mexican, right? Like the closer you are to those roots in terms of like, how do I want to explain this? Like your homeland, basically.
Yeah.
The like stronger it can also be, in my opinion. And then for the lady that said for you not to deal with cards, for some people, when you think of like when you're in the kitchen, right, and you're working with a toddler, they have their little toddler spoon and fork and maybe like a non-hazardous knife, right?
Yeah.
But then there's the sharp knives that like you could have a chef come in and they're super sharp. The crystals are like the little kid fork, the kid knife, right? And they're still very powerful, right? Just to clarify, like they're still just as powerful.
They're like, wow.
Yeah. But you'll have like some tools in the kitchen that only within supervision or someone having the tools on how to watch your fingers. A kid doesn't know how to watch. They're just going to play with the tools. And so in terms of like the dark side of it, certain people, when they open up cards, it activates different parts of the depths of their souls that they don't have grooming for, and may not have, it might not even be within their life path to even work on that in this life, but it's there.
Got it.
And so that's why, like I was saying in the beginning, you got to know why you're drawn to the spiritual realm in the first place and these tools, because a lot of people think like, oh, because I'm drawn to it or I've done plant medicine, that I know exactly, like, that is my path. And that's really, that's not always the case. You can be a medium and be a nurse. You can be a medium and be an artist, right? You're channeling in some way or another. Or there's, I always say homeless are some of the most spiritual people on the planet, because the way that when someone is like, hail mercy, right? Like, I'm surrendered, I'm at my feet, like they are like fully in surrender, or they're going through a surrender process with different kinds of addictions, right? They're given that opportunity without the resources of having to deal with work and,
Right.
all of those things. And so I have a friend of mine years ago who, his life changed when a homeless man, he was sleeping in his car, and a homeless man had said to him, change your mindset, change your life. Change your mindset, change your life. Change your mindset, change your life. And he's built his entire, I mean, he's huge in the spiritual realm, like spiritual community, like he's a stance for transformation and always has been, like, very powerful man. But that's actually how his story like evolved to be able to help other people and to get him out of, the space that he was in of scarcity. Was, if I change my mindset, I change my life. And he like went to prison and read The Power of Positive Thinking, impacted the whole, he's got like a documentary like out on TV and things like that.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so he changed his life,
Yeah.
So you just, everything having a spiritual impact on us, people are vessels too. So even you and I in this conversation, if my perspective is I am talking to the universe and I'm talking to God with your voice, then I'll be a listener and I'll be open to hearing and being mentored by everybody. Now you got to filter like what actually is to stick with you and what's not too. You have to know the influence. But if you come from that standpoint of everything is teaching me how to be better, because from the time I'm born, I can't help the way I'm born, but I can help the way I die. So if I choose to go on a spiritual path, I got to know from this point forward, from my awakening, from lifetimes now, I'm on this path now. And the most that I can do in this life until I die is what I'll take with me. So transformation, like the growth, all the impact experiences with people, that'll carry over and transcend. But anything physical,
Right.
I don't get to take with me.
Yeah. No, and that makes so much sense. That's also why I have the Unalam.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's the path of life.
Yes.
But yes.
Yes.
Enlightenment.
Yes,
And
enlightenment.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. No, and I think that's the thing too, because you said that you kind of blocked, right, from
Yes.
19 to 21.
Yeah.
So I guess for other people that might be listening, like what was that blocking like? What did that blocking consist of?
Yeah. So I was diagnosed with a medical condition when I was younger that I walked a fine line in terms of, I was always told God wouldn't give you something unless you could handle it. Like I would cry when I would have to get injections done to me, and it just was I had a very supportive community around me, but the way I felt on the inside was like, fuck this. Like, I don't want this.
Yeah.
And then there were times where I'm like, okay, it's brought in blessings and miracles and people in my life, but then I don't want to live with this, right? And I dealt with a lot of like image conversations, of having to like not wanting to have injections in front of people and things like that. Like growing up with this certain condition was very challenging. Especially like when you like a guy and then like you're different and all of that. Like I just wanted to be normal was the biggest conversation. And so I battled spiritually from 6 to 21. And specifically at 19, I faced an experience with one of my parents that had altered the projection of my health and trajectory of my health, where I had to figure out how I was going to survive without health insurance. And so from there, and there was like a couple other like traumatic things that had gone on in addition to that. And so the resentment I had to that, and then resentment to higher power, and it was just like all of those things. I didn't know that I was who I was at 19, but I knew there were certain things about me that were really strong. I just thought it was normal to just have this really strong inner knowing. And from 19 to 21, I was like, you could not say the word God without my ears bleeding or like me cringing. Like I would, if you were to like say like you were Catholic and or some sort of religion, and you would even just say like, oh, thank you, God. I'm like, we aren't friends. Like I was just like, I just could not, I couldn't do it until I came across my first mentor who she opened right up and she started scribing and she just kept saying, God, God this, God that, God this, God that. Like she was very religious. She had her own, her own thing going on. And I was like, what did I get myself into? It's like I wanted to get up and run because the resentment created such a disconnect for me that spiritually I was just like almost like an atheist, like absolutely not. And I had joined like this MLM and this network marketing that my like sponsor, my mentor in the business of it, would always say the universe. And I was like, I could deal with that. Like, universe sounds cool. It sounds nice. It's like everybody, right? But like there was some sort of disconnect that I had that you could not catch me saying God until I met this lady and I started working on the trauma, and then life started to hit in all different ways, sleeping in my car to struggling with money for like many, many years. And so I'd make money and then I'd lose money and then I'd make money and then I'd lose money. And I'm like, what? I couldn't figure out how to keep it. I'd make like a lot of money and then it would be gone. And so there was just a lot of things that I understood looking back, knowing about the realms as I was educated, the different things that were thrown to me, the different things that were stuck to me in terms of magic-wise. I didn't know that was even a cause. It was just like I could not catch a break when it came to money and bad luck, and I'm tired and this and that. And, so, and then you throw life on top of it because magic will interfere with life. It'll cause miscarriages. It'll cause really bad luck. And depending on how much magic is being thrown at you, you can get in car accidents. You can break legs and limbs and, a whole bunch of things. There's just a lot of, think of like a very strong force of negativity and coming at you. It's like there's blocks that will be put in your way and to make sure you stay stuck of where you are. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's crazy. And so basically at that 21 year mark was when, slowly but surely I was like opening up to, okay, the universe, that felt good. I loved the masculine, feminine aspect of really just understanding myself more on a deeper level that I was able to just resonate with and work on myself. Because in that MLM, personal development is a huge piece of that. And I was like, at one point, like, okay, I've read the books, I've done this, I've integrated, but then like there's spiritual development. And when I met that woman, she introduced me to spiritual development. And I was like, all right, like before I knew numerology and, the sun, moon, rising and all the things, it was like, she's showing me blind spots of myself that a book can't show me because how you're experiencing me is different than how I'm experiencing myself. Yeah. Thinking of like how my experience is coming across to you, and really it's a whole other experience that is being created on the other side. And so, yeah, she was just the blind spots. And so I incorporate that into my practice when I do consulting and masterminds of people want to know, like, what's stopping me from growing. And so downloading their energetic grid, it doesn't have to be medical record, but when someone comes and sits in front of me and they're like, I don't understand how my business is not moving forward. Yeah. And it's like, okay, I then will channel your whole energetic grid to see, and I'll hear different things in your environment, different people in your environment, what's blocking you or what skills are lacking in order for you to move forward to get to your end goal, what needs to happen within your own energy, and then the gray area in order to hit X. Yeah. So it's intense. Like if someone's ready for truth, I'm your best friend. But if you're not ready to face truth, or you're hiding, or you're stuffing things in the shadows, I will trigger the living hell out of you.
Yeah. I think more people need to be triggered.
Yeah, no, I do too. Yeah,
that's the only way to
just
grow.
Breathe.
Yeah, that's just
work on yourself and breathe. And like
Yeah, all of
Breathe.
my friends know. Like,
Yeah.
if they want the truth, they'll
Yeah.
come to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, look, I can hold your hand,
Right.
or I can just give it to you raw.
Right.
But either way, I'm going to tell you the truth, and
Right.
not to hurt you.
You're a good friend.
But because
Yeah,
you need to
you're a
hear
good
it.
friend.
I'm not one of those yes men at
Yeah.
all. Like,
Yeah.
no, if you're fucking up,
Right.
like, this
Right.
this is where you're fucking up. But
Right.
also, I expect that in return. Tell me when I'm fucking up.
Right.
You know, tell me like, Natasha, that wasn't the best,
Right.
decision. And I'm like, you know what? You're right.
Right.
Because how else am I supposed to learn and grow?
Right.
And
Exactly.
evolve, right? As a human being. If I have people surrounding me that are like, oh yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, there are times where I know I'm not doing the right thing.
Right.
So if you're my friend and you can't call me out,
Yeah. Right.
I don't
But
know.
then they love the people that out of the yeses will then say no.
Yeah.
And then they'll be drawn to the person that'll say no.
Yeah. I'm surrounded by no men.
Yeah.
like,
Oh, you're growing quick, my girl. You're growing quick.
I am surrounded by Scorpios.
Oh,
And so my closest.
I love Scorpios.
Yes,
I
me
love
too.
me a good Scorpio.
Yes,
Yeah.
they're loyal as shit.
Yes.
They're no bullshit.
No.
And that's what I need.
Yeah.
And so
What are you?
I'm a Capricorn.
Oh, Capricorn. Yeah.
Capricorn,
So you ride
Capricorn.
similarly. Yeah.
Aquarius.
Yeah.
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 So,
All the stubborn, tough ones.
oh yeah.
Yeah. No weak
Stubborn,
ones.
but
Yeah.
work. That's
Yeah.
all I do is work.
What would you say is the most challenging zodiac sign for you to get along with?
Aries women
Uh-huh.
and Leo men.
Why do you think that is?
Leo men because of their ego.
Yeah.
They're pretentious, this machismo. Every Leo man. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my God. shut
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
And Aries women, I don't know. I think because they're always so angry,
Yeah.
or like they're quick to anger, and I'm not. Like, do things annoy me? Sure.
Yeah.
But they're quick to get angry and then they hold on to it.
Right.
And so, I mean, I'm around enough that, I
Yeah.
mean, it's years later and they're like, remember that one? And I'm like, no,
Right.
I don't.
Right.
I let that go.
Do any of those two, whether it's a Leo man, the energies that you don't like about them, and then same with female, is there anyone in your life that they mimic?
I know my dad wasn't a Leo, but I feel like he definitely was giving Leo.
Yeah.
And I don't even know him,
Yeah.
but just based off of what I know, and then
Right.
even like photos, I'm like,
Right.
and then the women, I don't know, my mom was always angry, but she's a Taurus.
Yeah.
So, but I get along with Taurus women.
Right.
It's
no,
just that,
just
like,
the energy of like,
Oh,
it doesn't have to be the sign in particular.
yeah.
But sometimes that's even a blind spot of where do I get
Yes.
to look at next in
Yeah.
order, like what could potentially be slowing me down? What are all the
Right.
possibilities? So
There's a lesson,
yeah,
for sure. I know with Leos, because
they're strong.
they
They're fierce. Oh
they
yeah.
keep coming into my life, and
Yeah.
I'm like, what am I
Oh,
not
right.
learning? What did I not learn from the
Right.
last one?
Right.
That they keep coming into my life, because that's what it is. It's
Right.
a lesson I didn't learn.
Right.
So I'm like,
But there can
ugh.
also be a flip side to that of they love so fiercely.
They do.
And they're so courageous and
Yeah.
bold.
Yes.
So you could even resonate with those aspects of those people coming in to remind you of how bold you are and how loving you are. Potentially, right? I'm not
Right.
you get to define your truth, but there's always like a shadow side and then like a
light.
enlightened side
Yeah.
of every sign. That's why like Gemini, I love talking about Geminis because everyone's like, I have an ex that's Gemini. And my ex is a Gemini himself. Like
Yeah.
went through the ringer. He was more on the, after like dealing with him for a minute, right?
Yeah.
Like he was more on the shadowy side. But they're so masterful. And every sign has like masterful skills about them. And then they have weaknesses that they
Yeah.
get to grow or outgrow. But there's like at the core, like, what are they really good at? And Geminis, like most people can't in their mind go from one to the next to the next to the next to the next. Where it's like, I have a headache or that's just like too much for me. And in their mind, they're like, this is just natural. Like, how do you not understand?
Right.
Right? And it's the same for like your sign as Capricorn, my sign as a Virgo. And of course, like we also emanate the signs of our parents and like their people that they were around. So one of my bonus parents, my bonus mom is a Scorpio.
Okay.
And, a lot of people they'll guess as if I'm a Scorpio, right? Because I have this like not just because of like the depth, but there's like, I'm more reserved, I'll read the room. And that's not like a specific Scorpio thing, but like most of them are like, they can feel in between the line where you'll have Aquariuses that will think between the lines, right? And you have Virgos that like will translate between the lines types of deals. But when it, like, I've been told, like, I come off sometimes like a Scorpio, but my mom's a Capricorn, like, my birth mom's a Capricorn. So, like, I work hard, have compassion, like, you know, you have different aspects of, like, just the people that you're around.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's a really interesting.
You definitely give me Virgo.
Do I? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, both of my
The
exes,
details.
both of my exes are my ex-spouses.
Yeah.
Are Virgos.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
Both Earth, right?
Right.
And so grounded, calm for the most part.
Right.
Hardworking, right? There's a
For the
plan.
most
There's
part.
a future. Yeah, it's true. Because like they're
Right.
super calm till they're not.
Right.
And then it's like, oh, okay,
Right.
I'm just gonna let you have that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, until you're crossed.
Yes. Yeah.
Because there's so much patience that goes
Yes.
in.
So
And
patient.
it's like once I'm done or like
Yeah.
I've had enough,
Mm-hmm.
I will vocalize. I will.
Oh
speak.
yeah.
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 I like it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know people are like,
so many
oh,
deep topics.
It's
Yeah. I'm sure
true.
your readers
Yeah.
are like,
Yeah. And people are like, oh, like you believe in all that. And I'm like, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Because it's so true. If you tell me what sign you are, I can give you generally,
right.
like, obviously, right? Not everybody's the same, but generalization of like some traits that you have.
Right.
And tell me you don't,
Right.
you know?
Right.
But yeah, I don't know what it is about Leo men.
Yeah. No, they are intense.
They're very intense.
Yeah.
Which is like great
Right.
at first.
Right.
And then I'm like,
I
oh
love their
my-
charismatic, like their charisma though.
Oh,
like
all of
their-
them.
Yeah,
All of
all
them.
of them. Like I'm a very animated person too, so
Yeah.
like I when I see that, I'm like, yes, fan the flames.
Yeah.
Like yes, bring it on, yes.
Yeah.
And they love to be the star of the show, so they love their fans.
Of
flame.
course they do. They're like, look what I could do. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just like, you know, I'm gonna let you
Yeah.
have it. But
Yeah.
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 I don't know.
Crazy.
I gotta figure it out.
Yeah.
There's something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I actually think we're kind of over time.
We're over time.
Yeah. It goes by so fast.
so fast.
I'm gonna have to bring you back
yeah.
on.
Yeah. I would love that.
Yeah. We'll do like a
Thank you for having me.
recap. Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, are we good? I'm not good. I gotta go. Fine. All right.
Kicking us out.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do people follow you or get a hold of you?
Yeah, so you can go to my Instagram. It's all the same, Solar Palexis, like your intuition, but my name's Alexis. So Solar P Alexis.
Yes.
Whether it's TikTok, Instagram, like Threads, anything across the board, it's all the same. I'm a consistent creature of habit, so that's where you can find me.
Nice. And how do people book? Do they just DM you or?
Yeah, there's a link in my bio,
Okay.
in my Instagram and my TikTok that
Perfect.
people can go find details about me and how to apply into my practice.
Yes. And so that's how I met her, guys. So I didn't bring her on just because she's very sweet and very pretty. It's because she does great work
Thank you.
and is a whole vibe. Like the energy is
Thank
just
you.
there. So yes.
Thank you.
So make sure that you book with her.
Yes.
Thank you to Valpa Media for housing and producing, and to Latina Podcast Network again. Follow me at Norteño Tucson. It's official Norteño Tucson, but same thing across all the platforms. Just find me. Make sure that you like, share, and follow, and reach out to her and follow her as well. And I will see you guys next time.